they would be somewhat elongated. We're doing something today that Nick has never done before, and that is a podcast with the subject that he's not aware of until I'm going to tell him in a second, but he's had no chance to prepare anything for it. I think that in itself is very relevant to this topic today, and I also think this topic flows really nicely from our last episode, intensity. So today's topic is fun. And I think it's an interesting follow-on from intensity, because some may feel that intensity lacks fun. I think that could be perhaps a misconception, but it could be a perceived notion. I think, if someone's being really intense, maybe they're not being fun, or at least is what might appear like. And I also think it's fun that Nick had no idea this was coming. So, first, what is fun?
I think, we'll see what you have to say about this, but I think actually fun is one of those things that happens when you're not really thinking about it. John Stuart Mill said that happiness is interesting in the sense that if you ask if you're happy, it'll reduce your happiness. If you're like, am I having fun now? that judgment actually stops you from having fun. Yeah. But what came up when you said how some people don't find intensity fun is, and it goes again back to last episode, it's like, what aspects of that make it not fun? Because you could intensely be having fun. It's just so intense, I'm having fun. And so one of the things that I've been thinking about since the last episode is like how when you're being intense, sometimes it means that you only have one gear. That I'm intense now and I'm not gonna... So the positive side of that is what we call devotion. The negative side of that is like rigidity. So I don't know, man. Well, maybe we'll figure out more what I think fun is in the course of this episode. Cool. But I feel like in order to have fun, you need to be a little bit more open and maybe have more gears available.
Interesting. I love that you say you don't know yet.
We'll see.
I just respect that so much, man. To be open and it's almost vulnerable in a way to be like, not sure right now. That's totally fine
for me. And I was actually going to bring this up in a later episode. Like, I don't think that the definition of a word is very instructive at all. When we try and define things, it's like maybe we'll come up to a definition that is nice for us. But I've come, as I mentioned in the podcast on here, to appreciate feeling more than articulation. It's funny because I was gonna write a blog post at one point called "Philosophy: 2 Steps Forward, 394 Steps Back," and the reason that I was gonna say that is because in analytic philosophy, oftentimes we're trying to define something. We're trying to figure out like what does it mean to be ethical? What does it mean to be rational? What does it mean to be blah blah blah? And it's like, once you've defined all the goddamn terms, what you find sometimes at the end is that you've defined it in such a niche way that nobody gives a shit about it. On the other hand, I remember one time in an ethics class, I made an argument about something. I can't remember what it was. And the lecturer goes, but that doesn't square nicely with our common sense notions. And I go, well, isn't that why we're thinking hard? To go beyond common sense notions? So anyway, I'll eventually go into this more in an episode related to a philosopher called Wittgenstein, because he had this interesting turn where in the beginning he was very focused on definitions, and then later on he was like, actually language is a tool and it's very context specific, so don't get too caught up on what you think a dictionary definition of something is.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I like it. To the fundamentals, obviously, we need some kind of definition of things. Otherwise, we don't know what we're talking about.
No, I don't think that's true. So, I think there was a there was a case in the Supreme Court of the United States where it was about pornography, and it was like, is this pornography or not? And the judge said, I can't tell you what pornography is, but I'll tell you when I see it. I know it when I see it. So I know when I'm having fun. A child knows when it's having fun without a definition.
Okay.
So yeah. I actually don't think you need to define things in order to know what they are.
Yeah, okay. But okay. Maybe I'm meaning super fundamental, like English language. I mean, we all know what fun. Well, I'm being an idiot now, but
that's what I'm saying.
You know,
everybody knows it. We don't need to define it.
Yeah. But like, if I were to say it in Japanese, you'd be like, "What is that?" You know.
Maybe, but that's just because it's a different language. I could see a Japanese person having fun and be like, I know what that is.
Yeah.
I don't need to put a word to it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully we all know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm being a bit silly. All right. Okay. Well, I've got a bunch of questions that I thought we could talk about, and then just, whatever comes up, and we'll see where it goes.
Sounds fun.
What does yes? What does it take to be a fun person?
Well, I think
you already mentioned different gears.
I think so, but I also think it depends. Like, I think that you think I'm fun, and then I think that other people would not necessarily think that I'm fun. It's all a matter of taste.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true. I think for me, like, fun is someone that, so if I'm talking about a fun person, things that come to mind is someone that's just themselves, and like they don't really, if they don't really have seem to mind what other people think, and they're just being true to themselves. Normally, like, high energy is probably helpful as well. Yeah.
It's funny because I'm just trying to think of counterexamples of all of these things.
Cool.
Play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Because I find, like we talked about in the last episode, I find meditation to be fun in the sense of, and we talked about it last time, but I find it fascinating to just sit and see what's already here. And that's not high energy. And yeah, to be yourself, maybe. But, sometimes there are times where you need to go out of your comfort zone. Let's say that your friends are going to say, I want to go rock climbing, and you're a scared and timid person that wouldn't typically want to do that. Well, sometimes you go out of your comfort zone and are like, hey, this is fun.
Yeah. But I wouldn't say it's not being yourself. Don't you think?
What do you mean?
Like,
what does, okay.
You can go outside your comfort zone and you're still being yourself. When I say being yourself, what I mean is like not trying to like appear to be something different, or So maybe if you went to rock climb, you'd be like, oh, I'm nervous. Not trying to hide how nervous you are, but you're still doing it.
Yeah. That's what I was getting at before when I said, like, in order to be happy, you have to be, in a certain sense, you have to be in the moment rather than criticizing and judging the moment from the outside. So I think maybe immersion is part of fun.
Yeah. So the thing that's popping into my mind is I had a Christmas party maybe a week or two ago. Is that a week ago? And one of the girls in particular, she's just, like, I would just say she's fun. Like, everyone there was fun and great, but her in particular, she just didn't seem to care what anyone thought. So she'd often like do something or say something that maybe someone could easily like snarl at or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, kind of, that kind of thing. But I love that. Like, and to me, it made me think she's fun. And I think for a lot of people, they also have that same reaction of like, oh, whoa, like, yeah, she's fun to hang out with. You know what I mean? Maybe.
Again, it's like, it's your thing of her. Other people might be like, well, that chick is obnoxious.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I think, it's like, it's interesting because your at the moment you are trying to classify it with external markers.
Uh-huh.
And I think that fun is just simply a feeling. Hey, this is fun.
Yeah.
There's no need to contain it.
Yeah. But what you'd say though, I'm sure you probably have certain friends, do you think, that you feel exude more fun than others, maybe?
I don't know. Like I think people go through periods as well.
Yeah. As I say these things, I'm second guessing it as I'm saying.
That's good.
Yeah.
No, because I can think of people that are fun that are not enjoying themselves. One of the people that comes to mind is Robin Williams, who might have been one of the most fun people of all time, who committed suicide. And look at the kind of identity transformation that Jim Carrey's going through right now, where he kind of sees through everything. And I think some people will call him crazy. I don't think he's crazy. He says a lot of things that I'm like, yeah, I wish more people would say stuff like that. Yeah. He's maybe a bit more extreme than from my taste, but I get what he's saying.
Yeah, I don't think he's crazy either. I think, yeah.
So I have a colleague of mine who is always the light of the party, and she does that because that's her role. It's not who she really is. She makes it fun for everybody else. So then people go, she's very fun. But actually, it's very draining for her. And I've seen it in moments where she goes, I can't do this anymore. And she totally disengages from the situation. It's really interesting. I wouldn't say I confronted her about it, but I just said, I know that you're secretly an introvert. And so we had a really nice conversation about it.
Cool. So she would have appreciated that.
I think so, but she's also stuck in a role. In a certain sense, we're all kind of stuck in roles.
So in that case, is it like that she runs out of energy?
Yeah. It's really draining to not be yourself.
Yeah.
And she feels that it's her role to bring up the energy of the room, and she does it masterfully, but it's only sustainable for so long. So you see that, on the outside, we might say of her that she's fun. On the inside, she's just doing her job.
That's interesting as well, to think that probably enhances everyone's experience.
Yep.
Except perhaps her own.
Exactly.
And is that therefore even worth it?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know, but I feel that is a pressure that women have more than men. She is the mother of the group. And I feel like oftentimes they will set aside what they need for what their children need.
And you're her child?
She doesn't have children of her own, so I think that she's kind of exuding that energy to the entire group. So anyway, it doesn't seem fun to me, because I think I know when people are, not always, but in her case, I felt she was doing something self-sacrificial for the benefit of everybody else except for her.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, the problem with that is that it's not sustainable. And then, like a Robin Williams, you eventually have to take drastic steps. A human can only do that kind of thing for so long.
So in Robin Williams' case, do you think that... I don't necessarily think that he wasn't enjoying that, but maybe he was neglecting other areas, or
I don't think we can speculate on his. Again, we need to have Dave Chappelle, Robin Williams.
Wait, what about Dave Chappelle?
No. There are these guests that we're supposed to have on.
Right.
Who is it?
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle and somebody else. Bradley Cooper.
True. We need. That's a good point.
Can't speak on their behalf. I don't even think maybe he would know. This is psychologically complicated.
But okay, I guess what I was saying though is, in his case, being fun necessarily was not necessarily why he was depressed, for example, because he was putting so much effort into being fun.
Yeah, maybe I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So the takeaway today is don't be too fun. No.
You know, I sometimes there are just what somebody appears to be on the outside is quite different from how they feel on the inside. And in my case, you know, man, because I grew up in a household where there was a lot of conflict, and I became kind of like a clown. I became the person who dissipated the conflict by creating laughter.
In the household?
Yeah, growing up. So, and I'm told that that's quite a common, that children in conflict-ridden households will often take on that role of being a comedian, or you hear it with stand-up comedians actually, oftentimes, that they feel the responsibility of lifting the emotional tone of the room, because they project their childhood experiences onto their adult circumstances. So that I used to be very sensitive to. I remember just noticing when people were down, and then especially in this period where I was connecting with strangers, I would be able to lift their spirits maybe temporarily. And perhaps that's part of what I was doing by connecting with people, is one person at a time lifting their spirits. But you know, might only last 15 minutes or whatever. But yeah, I'm sensitive to that. I used to be. I'm less sensitive to it now because I realize it's not my responsibility. It's too much of a responsibility to bear. I bet that Jim Carrey also grew up in such a household with some where he felt that he needed to lift the emotional tone of the family.
I'll have to interview him next.
That would be cool.
That would be very cool.
I mean, he says of his father that his father wishes that he could have been like Jim Carrey, but he became an accountant to support the family.
Yeah.
And so Jim Carrey really followed his dreams to kind of honor that. But you know what's funny is that I felt that I brought down the emotional tone of a podcast about fun. Anyway, yeah, I feel it's complicated.
Yeah, I agree. So what stopped you from? I mean, not stopped you, but like the reason you decided to stop
doing that.
Talking to strangers and trying to have a positive impact on them. It was to listen deeply to them and to connect with strangers, right? Was that the
that
goal?
was. Yeah. I'm just talking. I'm trying to psychologize myself of like what was the underlying mode. Why did I want to do that? But also there is a feeling of that I still have that I'm trying to heal, where when you go into a situation, you kind of monitor the emotional tone of the room, and then if it's anything less than fun, it's your responsibility to bring it up to fun. And so that made me in my adolescence, especially when we moved to Malaysia, I was so concerned with being the most popular kid and being friends with literally everybody. I was involved in every friendship circle, and I don't know why, but I felt that I needed to be included everywhere. And again, it was my role and I was always the class clown. And I was always bringing up the emotional tone of the classroom to the point where my grades were terrible. And then I remember at one point in a physics class, I don't know why, but I was like, my grades were terrible. And so I just decided to put my head down and work. I don't really know why.
What year was this?
It was year 10.
Okay, yeah.
And then I got the second.
Good time to shift.
It was a good time.
Yeah.
I got the second best grade in the class. And then somebody goes, "Is Nick smart?" She was so like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So were you also less fun at that point? Or were you still kind of keeping that up a bit, but more
This is the thing. I think I had the transition of my concern with making everybody else's life fun is now
secondary.
No, it's secondary, but the reason it was secondary is because I realized that it was having such a negative impact on my life. And I was getting D's and C's and stuff. And I remember in my chemistry class, very clearly there was a problem on the board. It was for IB class, and there was an equation, and the chemistry teacher just said to the class, does anybody know what this is? Basically being like, look how complicated things can get in IB. And I said, yeah, that's protonation. He goes, okay. And Nick, if you take a proton and add a neutron to it, what do you get? And I said, deuterium. He goes, what if you add another neutron? And I said, oh, tritium. He goes, what about another one? I said, well, I don't know, because hasn't been discovered. And he was just like looking at me like, what the fuck? And
so year 10 was it, or?
Yeah, year 10. Okay. And then we did a chemistry exam, and I think I got 58%, and it just said really disappointing on the paper.
This was after that.
Yeah.
Okay.
He kind of knew that I was smart, but I didn't care about being smart.
Yeah. You weren't applying yourself.
And I was in a remedial math class. I wasn't in the lowest math class. I was in the math class lower than that. And then I was like...
In year 10?
Yeah, I think it was, year 10 or year 11.
Damn, that's so inspiring, man.
Yeah, then I was like, this is ridiculous. I just noticed. And then I worked my way up to the highest math class.
In the space of how long?
Less than a year. Yeah. Because my remedial math teacher was like, he doesn't belong here. And then, so...
you could say that of anyone though, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and then it was really interesting because when I got back to Australia...
Maybe they sense you had an aptitude and you just weren't applying yourself in that sense.
I think so. Yeah, it was just very clear. Once I applied myself, he was like, okay, this kid is...
I had that same sense from year 7 to 9, I reckon. I knew that I could do better if I wanted to, but I was happy to not. Maybe I was aware that it's not that important right now. It's more important in year like 11 and 12. So.
Yeah.
And I don't regret being like that, in a way.
I think a lot of people are like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, let's be honest. I mean, I don't feel that what you learn like before the end of high school is that important. It's much more important to socialize and to build those skills.
Yeah, exactly.
And way more fun.
And like explore interests in not necessarily your class subjects. If you are curious about them, absolutely. But maybe it's like music or sport or whatever.
That's what I did. So eventually, when I got back from Malaysia, I went to high school in Australia and did year 11 and 12 in Australia. And I remember going, oh, people don't know who I am, so I can now become whoever I'd like to be. And I basically decided to be the opposite of who I was. I was like, I'm going to be a nerd. I'm going to be an introvert. I'm going to sit at the front of the class. I'm always going to know the answer.
I love that self-awareness at that age, man. That's cool. I like the awareness to know that,
It was interesting. But then what happened was I tried really hard, and I remember when I got back, I got the best grade in my science exam, and then I was like, damn, this is not challenging. So then I still applied myself, but it's interesting what you said, because I started applying myself to things outside of school. I just started teaching myself quantum physics outside of school, and I just did good enough in school to get to university.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So you weren't concerned about trying to get the highest marks?
No, not at all, because I didn't find it inspiring at all. Especially because I went to a British international school in Malaysia, so just it was just way better. My teachers were better. The everything about it was better educationally. And then doing the HSC was very underwhelming. So I wasn't excited. I knew I wanted to be smart, and I knew I wanted to apply myself, but I was like, I'm not going to give all of that energy to high school. I'm just going to do just well enough to get into university.
So you say you did IB though?
In Malaysia, I was an IB track, and then when I got to Australia, I just did HSC.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's weird. Here it's like you do whatever, and then you did IB in year 11 and 12. That was it.
Okay.
Anyway, if you want to at our school, you could do HSC instead.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, cool. Let me see another. Yeah. Another point I had on fun, tying back to that, is fun a mood or a state of mind?
Feeling? I don't know. What's the difference between a mood and a state of mind?
Well, okay, yeah, good question. Maybe a mood could be like in a room. You know, you enter a room and it's like this vibe.
Okay.
Whereas maybe the state of mind is more like internal.
Okay. Maybe
yeah, I mean,
maybe both.
You could definitely, they could be the one and the same in certain,
Yeah.
The way I was thinking about it. Yeah.
I think probably both, yeah.
Mm.
Although it is difficult to have fun when nobody else is having fun, maybe. If the mood of the room is not fun and you're having fun, it's a bit weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, what are some things you do for fun?
This is really fun.
Nice. I thought the same. Yeah.
It's interesting because sometimes when the word fun comes up, you can think of like kind of hedonistic things, eating junk food and watching movies and playing video games, and like maybe those things have their space. But I actually find that the things that are most fun require a little bit of an activation energy. There's a little bit of a resistance to, okay, I'm supposed to go to gymnastics training today. There's a little bit of I got to drive there, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Maybe there is no activation energy for you, but when you're in it, it's so much fun.
I'd say there is, yeah.
Yeah. That's good because you're normal human being. Yeah, to a certain extent. But yeah, like I actually think that the things that are most fun require overcoming resistance.
I was thinking along the same lines.
Yeah.
The way I was thinking about it was, I think, the things I really find fun take a bit of work and effort, and maybe not immediately fun. And I think possibly the most fun things for me happen after a lot of effort, which hopefully the effort was fun too. I think you can maybe find anything fun, depending on how you look at it. But yeah, the most fun, like if you've prepared really well for something, done all this work, and then that thing comes, well, it's up to you at that point as well. You can really enjoy that thing, or you can like, things I'm thinking about is a competition, for example. You could be very nervous about it and maybe not enjoy it as much, or you could think, I've done everything I can, let's just enjoy all that hard work, and then same for like a project or a presentation or anything really. Yeah, nice. That's cool. We both had that similar thought. And that's interesting because it seems maybe counterintuitive when I think if you say to someone, let's have some fun, like it seems like, that means just do the easy thing where there's no resistance and you're just going to straight away be having fun. But actually, sometimes you have to push through this random barrier to get into that zone.
Yeah, look, one of the things that comes to mind is, when I went on that trip to meet that guy that lives on an island in Canada, I was living with a family, and so it was like mother and father and a young daughter, and the mother and father were both ultra endurance athletes. And so I remember at one point the mother went for like a 3-hour run, and then she was like, "You guys want to go kayaking?" And I was like, "God damn." She had so much energy, and then we went for a fucking 1.5 hour kayak, and it was just like, it was very taxing.
For you, not for them.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe, exactly.
I'm guessing because you said they're both.
Yeah, they were super fit, and so. But anyway, man. So there were things like that during this trip while I was staying with this family, and I just obviously said yes to all of them, but. Again, that was one of the best trips of my, just getting to meet that guy on the island and then staying with his family. And the other thing that was difficult about it is like, they were they were so excited to have me at their house, and I think one of the reasons for that is because I was playing with their daughter and being a distraction for her so that they could have some peace, and that was also difficult. It is very exhausting to entertain a 6-year-old girl. She has boundless energy and she's so blunt with everything of like, this is what I want to do now, I want to do this, and she's often wrong about, because she'd be like, she would be so adamant about, I want to do this particular thing. And I'd be like, well, actually, we can't do that right now. Let's play Lego. And she'd be like, I don't want to play Lego. But then, so after the activation energy, we'd start playing Lego and she would get super immersed into it. And so would I. And so that trip was not as relaxing as a typical trip, but it was so fun. It was so much fun. So that's actually one of the things that I've been thinking about more and like really been inspired by you, man. Of like, do I want to put more effort in such that I have more fun? Because I think on the spectrum, I am more on the side of like just chilling out these days. Because one of the other things that occurred to me after the podcast was you mentioned that the opposite of intense is apathetic. What do you think about this? The opposite of intense is relaxed.
You're not saying that relaxed and apathetic are the same?
I'm not. I'm saying, is it possible to be intense and relaxed?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's possible, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I don't want to get too definition-y.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I could be, like let's say intensely editing the film, but in a relaxed manner. I mean, I'm enjoying it. Does that mean I'm not relaxed? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting to get to
maybe my definition of relaxed is like lack of stress, So I feel like I can do a lot of things relaxed. And when I say stress, I probably mean more like the mental discomfort. Because I mean, it's funny. I wouldn't say physical difficulty in an exercise is stress. It's technically stress on the body.
Physical stress. Yeah,
but it's to me that's very different. That's a healthy thing, whereas emotional stress can be. It's probably something I try to, take steps to avoid or reduce because it seems unhealthy, right? To be super stressed out about things.
That's really nice. So, yeah, you can be, because I can imagine being intense without stress, possibly.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, because I also find the intensity enjoyable. I do not find stress enjoyable. So, yeah, I think they're different. I mean, yeah, you could have them, they're separate things, right? So you could have intense and stressful, or you could have separate. Yeah. Yeah,
it's one of the things that I've trained in meditation, because Sam says, now I want your focus to be very precise but relaxed, so that you are devoted, for instance, to the breath, but you don't tense up in order to be focused. And a good fighter is often very focused but totally relaxed. I mean, look at especially the early, what's the Irish featherweight?
McGregor.
UFC, yeah. McGregor, he's so, like, especially in the early days of McGregor, he just moved around like a cat. Like, he was so pliable and relaxed and focused and precise. So I'm glad that we arrived at that, because what I was going to say is that, like, because going back to this idea that one of the downsides possibly being intense is that you only have one gear. And you think about heart variability, where it's like the best state is to not be locked into one heart rate, but to have that flexibility. And it reminds me of Bruce Lee being like, you should be like water. So he can strike with incredible intensity and focus and power, but it's by relaxing almost everywhere and then forcing kind of forcing it through almost like a pinhole of like,
Yeah.
I only want to be tensed in this very, very small specific way and relaxed everywhere else.
That's such a good simile. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same in gymnastics as well. Like when you're teaching someone a skill, often the beginner will use every muscle at the same time, and almost 50% of those muscles are inhibiting that movement, if you know what I mean. So it's about knowing which ones to turn on and which ones to relax. And you can probably see that in like a high level gymnast. They'll do a skill which, because on the high bar you relax under the bar to use the bar's power to throw you over the bar. So as you are swinging under, you sink under and you relax. It's very strange because obviously you're not going to relax your grip or you'll fall off. But you want to relax your shoulders and your hips. You want everything to sag down under it. So you don't want to be tense in that moment. But then you'll snap into a tense position right after that. Yeah, so it's the same thing where, you use it in the right moment. Yeah.
Yeah, this physical training is such a good metaphor for life, don't you think?
Yeah.
There's so many lessons that carry over.
Yeah, definitely. That's so cool, man. And that alone, again, is like, that's why it's important. I mean, obviously the health benefits, but analogy, metaphor benefits that you can take from your training. Yeah.
I think that it's actually similar. Like I think that whatever part of your brain you're using in the gymnastics when you're relaxing like that, I think it's probably the same part of your brain that you use when you're relaxed in a different situation. So I really do think that it literally carries over brain-wise.
Yeah.
What do you think about this, man? Because what I realized about studying the philosophy of happiness for a long time in positive psychology is, I was like, happiness is the wrong thing to focus on. The happiest people aren't asking themselves if they're happy, and they're often not worried about themselves. So one of the things that we know about the happiest people is that they often have devotion to something much higher than themselves. Could be a higher power in the case of, a religious person, but just something bigger than you, so that you're not thinking about yourself all the time. I think Tony Robbins says something about that when you're anxious or something, it's probably because you're focusing on yourself. It's really difficult to be in those kinds of unhappy states when you're focusing on other people. So what I realized, at the end of studying happiness was like, okay, I'm going to let go of this now. I've learned everything that I wanted to, and it's deleterious to keep focusing on this as if it were, the highest thing in your life is to focus on happiness. And I think probably fun is the same thing. That actually what we talked about previously is that if you were to focus on fun, you might discount all of the things that are hard, which lead to fun eventually. So the thing that I've been actually focusing on more is equanimity. And this is interesting because it ties into what we were talking about before about how you can be intense with no stress. Equanimity to me is like one of the hallmarks of it is that there's less of a negative emotional tone. So that's more what I've been focusing on. Not fun, not happiness, but peace.
Reducing the negative instead of focusing on the positive. Interesting.
Just peace.
Yeah.
Robustness to circumstances.
That's the funny thing. I think I had this same thought yesterday when I was thinking about this podcast of fun. And it was almost strange to think about fun so much. Yep. Honest thoughts I had is like, I do want to be a fun person. I think that's important. But then as I kept thinking about it, it's like you can't force fun, like you said, it's kind of just, when you're focused on something else or you're, aligned and not thinking about it is when you'll have fun. So I was having this, and then I was having like, maybe it's not a good subject to talk about, Good. That's cool. Ultimately, I still thought it was worth it. Probably the fact that I was
Yeah, that you were conflicted.
Yeah, it made it a good thing to talk about.
I agree.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I think that like happiness is what happens when you kind of remove all of the things that make you anxious or fearful, or it just happens when you create the circumstances that protect you from anything that will drag you down. I think that it happens kind of spontaneously, which is why, when we did that episode on meditation, I had so much confidence that even though that was the first time that I've led a meditation, and we've never talked about, I don't think we've ever talked about meditation, despite the fact that I have been a meditator for more than 10 years. But I was so confident that if I was able to remove all the things and just see what's already here, that you'd get to that place of bliss. And I think it just happens spontaneously when you remove all the roadblocks. So you don't even need to focus on it. It'll happen spontaneously.
Yeah. This is making me think. I think this is a normal thing. You be the judge of that. Often before I'm like about to go and do something that I've been looking forward to, or that I know will be fun. Sorry to use the word, mate. Yes.
Fine.
Yeah. I have this moment of like hesitation and like, I don't actually want to do that right now.
Yeah.
And then I just always push through it because I know it's ridiculous, but I do have it. And
it's very normal.
Yeah. I wonder if that's that tiny little barrier that we're talking about that you got to often push through. Maybe it's like the slight bit of work or that you got to do beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is either, but I know what you're talking about. And for me, I'd like to dedicate like an episode to this, but it goes back to almost episode 1 where I mentioned that I think that we have multiple different parts within us that pull us in different directions. And there might be a part of you that says, well, I don't want to do this right now. Like there's a part of me that's very rebellious that goes, well, I don't want to fucking do that. And I have to negotiate with it. That part is a childlike part, and I'm in control as the adult. So I don't think that it's not that you were saying this, I don't think it's unhealthy, or I don't think that it's bad. I think it's just normal that we have to negotiate with ourselves. Yeah, there's always, we also talked about procrastination in the first episode, how like it happens at exactly the worst moment when you've got so much going on. Your brain tries to protect you. So it might be also that of like, you're going to go into a period where you're working out intensely for an hour or something. And so, of course, part of you is like, well, that's going to be painful, which is correct. So then it's a totally understandable reaction from part of you that is resistant to that. But you're the adult, you're the CEO, and you make the decision. Yeah, we're complicated. Humans are so complicated. It's not as if for every decision that we make we're not conflicted. You were conflicted with this episode topic, and yet we're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
So it's even though part of you, maybe even the vast majority of you, feels that this would be a fun thing, there's resistance sometimes, and that's just part of being a multifaceted human being.
Yeah. Yeah, and then just knowing how to balance these feelings and make a decision.
You gotta honor all of them. I think especially with men, it can be like we disrespect those parts of us that are sometimes maybe labeled as weak. And I don't think that's a healthy way to treat our internal lives. It's much better to approach that part with maybe even humor of like, come on, man, I know you don't want to do this, but
yeah.
or compassion, whatever that part needs. Sometimes that part needs compassion or just understanding. But for me, the important part is to honor. So for instance, I'll give you an example of this, because I do this, I'm doing this all the time, where the bus was late, and then the bus didn't show up. So then there's this huge line of people, and then I'm waiting, and I felt a little part of me start to get stressed of like, oh, I'm going to be late. And then I just said to that part, hey, little part, does the stress help situation at all? And it wasn't judging it. I'm not saying you're not allowed to feel stressed. Just tell me what the stress is about. Hey, little part, what's the stress about? And we go, well, we're going to be late. And I go, okay, great. So what's the problem with that? Well, okay, I guess there's no problem. And does the stress help the situation the bus come any earlier? No. And then I guess that part of me felt that there was an adult in the charge in the room. That's me. And to be honest, I've done that kind of thing with girlfriends before, where it's, they're worried about a certain thing that they have no control over. And I say, okay, tell me about that. And oftentimes it's not that you have to solve their problem. It's rather that you have to honor their feelings.
Yeah.
So that's what I do to myself as well. I just honor those feelings. And then there's less resistance, because I feel that part of me trusts me. I'm going to take care of it. So
then that stress there relaxes, would you say, in a way?
It does.
Yeah.
It's like all you need to do is let those emotions play out. It's amazing what happens when, if you feel fear, if you resist the fear will persist.
Yeah.
If you allow yourself to just see what's here and see what the fear is like, and to go, hey, fearful part, what's up? Tell me what you're fearful about. And then you kind of work your way through it rather than resisting it. I think the resisting it always kind of chronically builds up.
Intensifies it.
Yeah. And actually it takes a little bit of courage to give that part of you a little voice, because if you are fearful, sometimes there's a thought of like, if I don't confront the fear, then it's not real. So I'm just going to put that aside. Takes a little bit of courage to go, okay, let's confront this here now and see what the fear is about. And let those feelings and emotions run their course. And then it does. I've always found that it dissipates. Maybe it'll come back up later again. Cool. Let's do the same process. Just honor those feelings. And to just believe in yourself. You're the adult. You can make the decision. So
nice.
But this is an ongoing internal dialogue.
Yeah.
I had it literally, today, a couple of hours ago. So
yeah. Nice. So back to that question of what things do you find fun? You mentioned, I'm just curious, you mentioned the podcast. That's cool.
Yes.
Can you give me some other examples of things?
The other one that comes up right now is I like reading. I like to challenge myself intellectually, I think. I'm trying to find a way of challenging, of having more fun physically, just because I work out and it's not fun.
Okay.
So that's sometimes why.
So it's just neutral, is it, at the moment?
No, it's negative.
Okay. So you don't enjoy it?
I don't. I enjoy how I feel about myself and how I feel afterwards.
Yeah.
But I don't enjoy the process. No.
Okay. That's really important. It's good. It's good that you're aware of that too. I think a lot of people just think, oh, I'm just not a active person or whatever. But I think you just have to find the physical thing that you really find fun. And then,
That's why I put Stronger on in the background, because it's like, it's clear that you guys are having fun. So then it's clear that it's possible to have fun having exercise.
Yeah.
And you guys are really strong, and it's clear that you guys have had great outcomes in terms of what you might want physically.
Okay, so are you looking for? Are you trying different physical things now? Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
I am, yeah. But
do you find the staircase fun?
Let's see. I don't think so. Here's how I feel about it. I feel proud sometimes.
Cool. I find it fun that you do it it's fun to me.
Okay.
So that's cool. Yeah.
No, I don't find it fun. I just find it like, I would find it negative if I didn't take the stairs.
Okay.
So I feel kind of neutral about it.
Gotcha.
I feel good about myself, but it's not fun. Same with the exercise. It's like, that's not fun.
Just a thought I had now. Could it even be, instead of finding that physical activity that you find fun, because you like to challenge yourself intellectually, if you could make even something as simple as like strength training, a similar way in that intellectual challenge. Like, what is it that you like about an intellectual challenge? It's about,
oh, nice, man.
I'm guessing it's about something you don't understand and figuring it out, and that feeling after. So what if we thought about, I want to lift a bench 100 kilos. How am I going to get there?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Do you know what I mean? Like something like that, or I want to get the muscle.
I could definitely look into that. Yeah. But so I had this conversation with myself a couple of years ago. That's why I started bouldering.
Nice.
Because when you solve a problem, it's very intellectually rewarding, and obviously it's a good workout. But
in the sense that you can do the same bouldering, like rock climbing.
Yeah.
You can get from point A to point B. If you use good technique, it takes a lot less strength. Good technique, but then also figuring out the beta, because
like
which arm goes where.
How to lean. It's not just you can do the same. You can do the same problem with two different betas as well. I mean,
I'm trying to keep this open for everyone. Beta is like a
like the route.
Yes, a route, like your plan of attack on which hand on which rock, which foot on which rock. Balancing, leaning, all that stuff.
Yeah, so I really liked that, but I just kept getting injuries, and I didn't like it. And I also like to work out alone. Like, I like to do most things alone. So I like to work out alone. And then at a certain point, I don't know what happened, but I just lost the intellectual thrill of solving bouldering problems as well. Table tennis at one point was like huge. I would play a lot of table tennis because that's also kind of intellectual. And then I don't know why, but that also kind of fell by the wayside. So I don't know. The physical stuff right now is just like, as I said yesterday, like I had so much energy waking up in the morning that I just went out for a run. Like, it just kind of happened spontaneously. And I wouldn't say that was fun, but I liked that I was so energetic that I was running.
And you enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it?
Although, it's like, how do I... Maybe it was fun.
I know what you mean, though. You could say, I didn't think it was fun, but I enjoyed it.
But then what does that mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it is. There are definitely times when I enjoy physical exercise. Maybe it's this balance. Like, it's, as I said before, it's like, parts of you, there's resistant parts of you. So I wouldn't say that it's like clearly, obviously the thing that I would do if somebody said, how do you want to have fun?
Yeah.
But I also don't know what the answer to that is.
Of the way of thinking?
No. What do you do to have fun?
Right. I know. I found it strangely
difficult to answer.
Obviously, I thought of the question. I'll ask Nick that question. Then I think, what do I think? And I'm like, it's not as easy as you may think.
I wonder how other people feel about that. If they have like, do normal people have like an answer of like, on a date or something, like, what do you do for fun? Because
I know, it's funny. Hey, if I get asked it, I might ponder it more than you'd expect.
This guy's weird. No, because the thing about it actually reminds me of like, some people would say whenever I give talks, they'd be like, how come you're so enthusiastic when you give talks? Like, how do you do that? And the answer to that is, I don't talk about things that I'm not enthusiastic about. The causality is off there. So because the other thing that I was going to say is that I find my job to be really fun. It's like, maybe the reason for us that it's difficult is because we don't compartmentalize our lives into being like, this is work and this is fun.
Yeah.
We're like, no, everything has to be fun, otherwise I'm not going to work on it.
I feel like as I get older as well, because you get more successful, I'm able to cut away anything that's less fun, including work. You know what I mean? Maybe that's one of the things. It's like, that job or this business that I'm running is not super fun, so I'm going to reduce that one and build more on this one. And so that because I was thinking about that, I'm like, damn, I'm lucky. I'm sitting there editing and I'm thinking, yeah, I don't really, so many things I'm doing now they're all by choice. I mean, it's always by choice, but when you're younger, maybe you have to get the job to just make some money, so you have to take on a job you don't really find that fun. But as you progress, I mean, it depends. If you're on that career path, then it's set. But for me, it's like I'll do less of that. I'll do more of this, and I suppose I'm in a way choosing the more fun option as well. You know? Yeah. Or actually, probably big picture, I'm choosing the option that gives me the option for most fun in life. So maybe I'm doing some business that I don't find as fun as other stuff, but given it is profitable, it'll give me so much time to then do more fun things, more freedom for that. Yeah.
The more I think about it, I just think it's all fun.
Yeah.
I have like my days are very enjoyable.
Awesome. I definitely get that sense from you, man. I don't think I ever know of you having a bad day in a way.
It's fun. Like I'll tell you something funny, which is with my second girlfriend, one of the things that she got pissed off at me about was like I would never ask her how she was, and I didn't like it when she asked me how I was. Because I was
how
like,
dare she?
Yeah, no, it's like in hindsight, it's like so silly young person. But I was like, I'm clearly always happy, like, and I had this thought of like how in my young mind, I was like, if you're not happy, then figure that out and then be happy.
So would you say you're happy when you're heartbroken?
No, I don't think I was happy during that period. Yeah, like after that I realized like sometimes you're not always happy. And
that's okay. That's normal.
I also think, wow, how do I phrase this? I just don't think it's the right thing to focus on.
So when you're not happy to be focused on...
No, at all times. I just don't think it's right. I don't think it's important to judge the moment.
Yeah.
I think it just takes you out of the moment.
Yeah.
Then you're like, am I having fun? Like, I just don't...
Yeah.
What's the point?
But what I mean is, because I guess that's most prevalent when you're not feeling happy. In that moment to not think, oh, I'm not happy, I should change that.
Okay.
Just instead accept and experience the moment is a healthy way to be about it.
Although like playing devil's advocate, remember I realized, with my job, it came up slowly that I was like, oh, I'm more apathetic about my job now. It came up slowly. So it did actually require the Christmas break for me to realize that, because like when you're in it is difficult to like, sometimes you can kind of forget about how you feel about something when you're in it. But I don't think we've ever asked each other, hey man, how you doing? Like, we just hug each other and then get on with the fucking... Just now, I don't think...
Yeah, no, we don't.
How you doing?
Yeah.
We don't ask that.
Yeah. Also, because I know, like, you'll just tell me
that's
what's
the other
going
thing.
on, so...
That's the other thing, yeah. That's what I told my girlfriend at the time. She was like, I was waiting for you to ask how I was because I was sad. And I was like, just don't wait for me to ask. I'm always concerned with how you're doing. So just tell me.
Yeah.
So anyway, you got to figure that one out on a person by person basis.
Cool. That's funny because I also remember like, after you went in the cave and that, and then I know a personal thing would have happened with you and your girlfriend. I was curious about it, but I didn't want to ask you because I didn't want to pressure you to tell me something that you didn't want to tell me if that were the case. And I thought more, he'll tell me when and if he wants to, and that's okay.
I see.
So it's funny because that ex-girlfriend was instead, well, maybe sometimes you'd ask her something she didn't want to answer, and that puts pressure on her. So I think it's nicer when you just have that understanding. I want to know how you feel. when you're ready to tell me that.
I see.
You know.
To be honest, I feel like some girls want you to magically just know.
Yeah.
You're supposed to know that. They just want you to magically know.
Yeah.
So then, unfortunately...
And it's funny because I can understand the element... Because, I don't really agree with that, obviously. But I can understand the element of, like, there's an emotional intelligence you would like your partner to have, which picks up on little things, and hence they do know things without you telling them.
Yeah.
But there's a limit to that.
Definitely. And the way that I think about that is that you can't expect it, so that when it happens, it's really nice.
Yes.
What you should expect is that the person doesn't know what you're thinking, because how would they? But when they do know, and they're so emotionally sensitive that they've figured it out, that's a nice surprise. Don't expect that.
Yeah. But maybe you'd think there are some partners are fantastic listeners, and hence it's more likely with...
Maybe, but even in that case, I mean... In order to be a good listener, the other person has to be a good communicator. So... Anyway, it's like...
Do you think? I don't know about that.
Yeah, I do. Like, in order to be a good listener, the other person has to be good at expressing themselves. You could be a great listener and the other person doesn't know how to express themselves.
Yeah.
And you'll go off the wrong...
But maybe you pick up on little things and help them express themselves.
Yeah, maybe.
As a good listener. I feel like that.
I think it's two-way street.
Yeah.
I don't think you can make up for being for a poor communicator by being a good listener.
Yeah, it's so important to be... I think that's a really underappreciated skill, being a good communicator.
Yeah, it's non-trivial.
Yeah, I think, and it's not just in verbal skill, but I think that's what makes great artists. They communicate something through a medium exceptionally well.
Yeah.
I think it's so important, man. Probably one of the most important as a human, because that's the only way you can express something into the world. And then the flip as well, the listening is really important.
Yeah, I was thinking about this yesterday, about how the most impactful art says something, communicates something deeply about this life of ours that we're all having, this shared human experience that we're all having. And it's funny how that's so well received. If you can say something really clearly about this life of ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a skill. It's not... Sometimes I even see a movie where it impacts me and I don't quite know how or why. And I feel like the director probably does. And like they're just so proficient, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely requires an emotional intelligence. That's what I was going to say earlier about how, like, yeah, in order to be a good communicator, like in a relationship way, it's not trivial to first of all know how you feel. That's really hard, and then to express that clearly. Yeah, and then on the other hand, like, and
that's almost two different skills as well. Yeah,
two different and incredibly valuable skills. And then on the other hand, you want to be the kind of listener where the person feels comfortable enough to tell you these things. Because I think a lot of men...
And that would be a non-judgmental listener.
Non-judgmental, maybe even more than that, to be loving.
Yeah. Not just neutral, but accepting and supportive.
Yeah, neutral at the least. Huh?
Yeah.
But I feel a lot of men don't feel that from their ladies. Oftentimes, yeah. That they feel that they can't express any sense of weakness or vulnerability, so that they hold it up. Because then if you express that, then your lady sees you as being weak. And maybe even less of a man. So that's very
ironically, I feel like it would be the reverse. Like
I know, right?
You know, how much stronger will you be, and will that couple be?
I know.
With that vulnerability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, you know, like, I'm not saying that this is just a problem with women. You know, this is a problem with everybody. But yeah, I've just noticed it with men that they don't feel free to express weakness. So that's a shame.
Yeah. They can, if they're aware of that, I'd like to think they could work on that with their partner.
That would be nice.
That'd be a nice discussion, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, so from you, I've got the fun is podcasting and reading books and work. I guess you mentioned
it's all fun.
Everything, hey? Almost.
It's all fun.
For me, I would say, it's hard for me, even now that I've thought about it. Of course, I think gymnastics. Actually, this was how I had this, the thought process was that I think it's the things that I have to put effort into before the fun comes that I find the most fun. So, like, the film is one example. Like, it's just such hard work, and a lot of it is, I don't know if it's in the moment super fun, but it is. It's kind of weird, right? Like, even sitting down and editing. Like, I was editing yesterday and I spent most of the day editing, which I love to do. But it's hard in the moment, because if I sit there and think, well, mate, you're on scene 6 of like 50, or however many it is. Like, I just know there's a lot of time sitting here doing this, and yesterday I was doing audio, so I was like trying to make sure all the levels are right. And then there'd be like little small problems with like someone scratching the mic or whatever, and I have to, so it's like a lot of problem solving, which didn't feel super creative in the moment, like I wasn't, it obviously makes the scene much better, but what maybe I find even more fun and exciting is like when you're being really creative to like, how can this scene go to have the most impact? Like, what order do I put it in, or what do I show and what do I not show? Okay, so maybe creativity. As I'm speaking, I'm thinking creativity is what I find fun. Surely for everyone, because that's that being in the moment, not thinking about it, for just doing it. Yeah, I think that's it, man. Creativity is fun. Yeah, there you go. And the beautiful thing about that is it can be, for different people, they be creative in different ways, and whatever way that is, they're probably going to be having fun.
Yeah, I think it's funny how you I noticed that you like kind of categorized and summarized, like, because you were like, okay, these are the things you find fun so far, reading.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And actually what I was trying to get at before that is how like anything can be like, when I wash the dishes, I find it fun. I like cooking.
You freaking weirdo.
Yeah,
you can wash my dishes later if you want.
I like making my bed.
Hey Nick, I got a few dishes, mate. You want to come over?
I'll be right there, mate. Yeah, like I don't have.
You finished, mate, doing them. You're welcome, mate. I say that to you.
Now that'll be $50.
Yeah.
What I was trying to get at, Lockie, is that I don't think I have a pithy answer. But although I find that in contrast with other people, I find quote unquote mundane things to be really fun.
Cool. Well, I also want to say I wasn't trying to enclose your potential fun activity. It was more for me like an interesting thought to see like, what are some things that person finds fun? What are some things that I find fun? I don't know, just to get thoughts going. Yes, yeah. I'm not saying oh, you only find a limited number of things fun. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But like more and more, I think that I try and find the joy in the simple things, and I find that it's easier for me to find the joy in the simple things than the big things, which is why I focused more on the simple things. So I find my work to be incredibly fun, and I find walks to be fun, and lots of things. But I suppose that I don't think about it. As I mentioned earlier, it's like I would only do it if I found it fun, but I don't think in those ways. It's just the feeling.
Yeah.
And so it's more it's not a conscious decision that I make anymore, because I've kind of reoriented my life in that way.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And I was just going to say, it's not as if, as I mentioned earlier, I think that it's actually, for me, a process of subtraction. That when you have a simple, calm, peaceful life, that fun and enjoyment happen as a automatic consequence. So I don't aim it. Maybe that's why it's difficult for me to, maybe that's a difficult question for me to answer for that reason, is that I don't aim for that at all.
On that point of subtraction, was it recently, I think you were saying you may have subtracted too much at some point? Did you think, like, because you think a bit of busyness is helpful to not be...
Yeah.
Or are you still sort of thinking about that?
I know what you're saying. I am still thinking about it. I don't
Okay.
have anything interesting to say about it, but I know what you mean. And yeah, it's just a thought that I have. It's like, because I found that there are periods in my life where I was enjoying them a lot, where I had a lot going on.
Yeah.
And so I was just thinking, do I want to go back into that kind of a period?
Yeah.
But as I also think that there are seasons in life, so that something that can be incredibly fun in one season, you don't have to carry it on for 8 seasons.
There's not seasons in this podcast, though.
Yes. Yeah, we just removed this.
Yeah. No, I think you're on your thought process there is leading somewhere.
Yep.
And then I think I agree, where I like how you reduce, and I think I could be much better at that. Although, yeah, and I think it's a pretty gradual thing. Hey, if you have the thought, or if you have the realization, saying no to more things and doing less gives you more focus, and because it maybe is counter to the current cultural aspiration of, like, I don't know, achieving as much as possible, doing as many things as possible, having a packed schedule. That seems to be, if you don't think too much, like what society would tell you should do.
Yeah.
So knowing you's been great in the sense that it made me realize, because for me personally, if I have too many things on, I get stressed, because I guess you can't do them all as well as you'd like, and that creates stress. And I don't seek stress. I just don't think it's a good thing. It doesn't. It's probably the opposite of. I don't know. Yeah, it's not apathy. It's better than apathy. But I almost see apathy as like death, man, because it's like, Anyway, yeah. So, because when I had that realization that like it would be, I think I'd like to do less, like Nick is doing. It's still hard though, because you can't in that moment be like, well, I'm just gonna cut all those things right now. Like, to be a reasonable person, you can't do that to other people sometimes. If it's like a job you've committed to, or so it's probably been a gradual thing. And I think I've very gradually doing that. Saying no to more things, and slowly reducing the jobs and that I've got. And like, kind of like we were talking about previously, maybe it'd be fun and interesting and insightful to take it too far and cut out too many things and be like, okay, this is now too much. But I'm definitely not close to that yet.
Yeah. I think, a couple of things. Like, I think, actually, I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast yesterday, and he said, if all of this went away, I would be totally fine. And he said, because I would probably just focus on archery and maybe getting better at BJJ and maybe getting better at pool. And he was like, I have so many things going on in my life that if one of them were to go away, it wouldn't affect me that much. And I was like, damn, that is really cool. So it's like you kind of diversify your life in a little bit. I think there can be like a synergistic effect that happens when something's going well in one area. It often has like a kind of flow-on effect to other areas. So that's maybe more along the lines that I was thinking about when I said like maybe I want some more stuff in my life. It's like what I said before about being equanimous means that you're robust to circumstances, and I think that robustness can come from diversification.
Yeah.
If you're too reliant on any one thing, then as soon as that thing either goes away or goes bad, and things are transient, so it's likely to go away or go bad at some point, that it'll have too big an effect on your happiness.
Yeah.
If you rely on one thing. So I think that's part of it, that I want to kind of diversify my life and my happiness a little bit. But the reason that I began to reduce things in all areas of life was I realized that attention is zero sum. If you're paying attention to something, it means that you're not paying attention to literally everything else. So, and also coming back to, I think
That's
maybe
so good.
it was.
Love it.
I think maybe it was episode 1 saying that attention is actually our most precious resource. We might think it's time, but it's not time, because it's easy to show that it's not time by just thinking of counterexamples where two people spend the exact same amount of time doing something and two people have totally different outcomes. Or even the same person doing one thing and attending in a different way and having a totally different outcome.
Like I was saying about your exercising as well. Could be that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mindset is everything. So then I was like, okay, if attention is my most precious resource, and it turns out that multitasking is not a thing, then okay, attention is zero sum and it's a finite resource. How do I personally want to divest my attention? And I should say, none of what we're saying is advice. I'm not saying that anybody else should do this. This is just what I found for myself. But yeah, then that's when I started, to be honest, man, I started to reduce my number of relationships. And I ended up getting rid of it, especially one friend who was a little bit toxic. In hindsight, I noticed that his impact on my life was toxic. And getting rid of just that relationship took such a weight off my shoulders. I didn't realize it, but it did. It just took such a weight off my shoulders. And then I was like, maybe let's see if I lean into that and just try and focus the vast majority of my efforts into a small number of relationships. And again, for me personally, that ended up being one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. So I think it started with relationships, which are obviously, a huge commodity in terms of one's life and one's happiness. And
why was that the best decision that you've made?
I don't know. Like it just took that, like there was a weight that I also think that it honored more of who I am, which is, I think, more introverted. I'll just say that the feeling tone of my life was totally elevated. I was just so much happier.
And is that because you can have a deeper connection with
that's exactly that's what I realized is that I'm interested in intimacy. And before I was interested in being life of the party, friends with everybody, and I had these incredibly transitional, superficial relationships with a huge number of people. So then I read the book Quiet by Susan Cain, which we should dive into at least one of these episodes. And I realized, and so she talks about introverts, and I was like, maybe I'm that. So how do I figure out if I'm that? Let's experiment. And and as we talked about before, you can learn so much by leaning extremely into a position. So then I was like, let me go to the most extreme version of what I think a healthy introvert could look like. So I lent into that and kind of, and the way that manifested in the beginning was that I had these really long phone calls with one person a day. And
every single day.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a commitment, man.
Yeah, small number of friends. Yeah, so maybe 5 to 6 friends or something like that. Maybe one day I would have to myself, but.
And would you typically do them in the morning, in the evening, or
evening?
Okay. Yeah.
Because you were one of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we would have these long conversations, and what I found in that period was this thing about how most men don't have somebody that they speak to this frankly about anything, and this deeply about anything. So that was cool to be that receptive place for a lot of my male friends. And then I realized like it just felt more resonant with who I am. To build intimacy with a small number of people. And so, yeah, it was one of the best decisions I've made. I think probably just because I felt aligned, to go back to a term we've talked about before. I felt very aligned with my being, or who I truly am, or I discovered that who I truly am is not the life of the party. And I'm very happy to let go of that part of my identity. I don't need to be that. That's another thing of letting go.
You're the life of my party, man. Yes!
Likewise, man. That's another thing that we've talked about previously, maybe not on the podcast, but how I'm trying to let go, not just of things, but of parts of my identity. I don't feel connected, or I don't feel that I need to be an academic anymore. I don't feel that I need to be super intelligent, or that people think that I'm intelligent. I don't need that. Letting go of like, what do you think you need in order to be respected or happy or who you want to be? It's like, let's let go of that and just see what happens. I remember one time when I started to lean into these ideas a lot, I was like, let me go the other extreme and like just try and be an idiot when I go out. And just totally let go of the need to be articulate and intelligent. And
that does sound fun.
It was so much fun. And I was having this conversation with this girl. I was being so stupid. Every question she asked, I would give such a stupid answer. And she turns to one of my friends and goes, "He's really smart, isn't he?" And I was like, damn. But then I realized, oh, that's interesting. You don't need to hold on to being smart as part of your identity for people to notice that you're intelligent. So you can just let that go. And what I realized is like, either I'm intelligent or I'm not. Who cares? Let's just let's have a dedication to what's true. So it's going to be very difficult for you to keep up the ruse of being intelligent if you have to pretend to be intelligent all the time. And who cares? Who cares about whether or not you are? So I've been trying to let go of those parts of my identity that appear to be stable in order for me to be happy. Actually, you can let go of them totally. Yeah, so one of them was being life of the party, and one of them was being intelligent. I'm sure I have others. One of them, probably being an academic, probably being successful.
And this is all when you were deciding to lean into the introversion, right?
Yeah, it all kind of happened at the same time.
Yeah.
I had all these realizations about, and I'm still going through it. It's not as if I'm done with that. But yeah, trying to let go of whatever personality anchors. Just let them go. You are who you are, and it doesn't. Your story about who you are is not that important.
It's cool you saying that, because I've had that realization. Maybe not as insightfully as deeply, but I remember when I was when I was working in finance full time and training gymnastics. I'm pretty sure I would go to a comp and not do as well as I wanted to, or not progress in gymnastics as fast as I wanted to.
Yeah.
And which was disappointing and upsetting. And then my mind would just think, oh well, mate, at least you're doing well in finance, or because I had these other things going on in my life. And I did have the thought I'm glad I'm not just only doing gymnastics. I do respect that focus and backup plan in a sense, but because it wasn't the only thing I was doing, it wasn't I wonder if I honestly was an excuse. Oh, but you're also doing that, so that's okay.
Good for you, man. That's very insightful.
Yeah.
That's just a hypothesis. Might not be true, but that's a very insightful hypothesis.
I think, but the honest thought I had was good thing you're not doing that, only that, because then you'd be a failure,
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. But also I think I knew, but you don't have to only do that. You can do that and this, and not be compromising. You're still as good as you would be as a gymnast. either way. Yeah. But yeah, to take it deeper, it's like you said, to not put your identity in that, and to have other things going on, so that when it's not great, like if you get injured or you're not learning something as fast as you want to, it's not such a big deal.
Oh, I love it, man. And I think that people kind of know that they're multifaceted. I think that's why one of the most annoying questions is, what do you do for a living? It's like, first of all, who gives a fuck? But it's like, I'm also not that.
Yeah.
That's not who I am.
Yeah. Nice. I love it, because I think that exactly, but it's probably such an unusual...
No, I don't think so. I think it's unusual to express it.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody likes so what do you do for a living question. It's just a small talk question.
Yeah. It does give insight though, if you're trying to sort of understand someone quickly.
I found that actually you can just go straight past that to who the person is.
What are your values?
Yes. Yeah. And I find that people really appreciate it.
Wait, so how do you go past that then, man? Give me an example.
Just by not asking that question.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really easy to go past it.
Yeah, actually, I do like that. If you meet someone and you don't bother to ask, not even bother, but you intentionally don't ask that.
Yeah.
Then you develop a understanding of that person. Yeah, in a more pure way, instead of attaching connotations of, oh, well, if they did that job, they must like these kind of things,
Yeah, in that.
Maybe I'll start hiding that.
Again, it might seem revolutionary, but you're literally removing. You're doing something less.
Does that mean like the ideal?
This is a subtraction thing.
The ideal partnership is you don't know what your partner does for a living.
In this period,
I'm going to work, honey. Don't ask.
The funny thing about that is I also didn't want to talk about work with my romantic partners. I didn't like it. But what I was going to say is that in this period where, remember, I was going up to strangers having these deep conversations, only very late into the conversation they go, oh, by the way, what's your name? Because who cares? As Shakespeare says, what's in a name? There's nothing.
It's everything.
In a name. Yes. So we should talk about names actually at some point, because they have nothing to do with you. But so yeah, I would.
Didn't you start this podcast with "I'm Nicholas Hindley"?
It's
you lying motherfucker. Yes!
We could go into that. That would be cool. It's funny because I did do that, but then it's hilarious how little I revealed about myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until later episodes.
Yeah, which is cool because we both decided we don't need to explain who we are.
People might be curious.
Kind of matters, but also doesn't really matter.
It kind of matters, but also exactly. This is my point.
The content and ideas matter.
No, but they might be still curious. Like, I'm sure that there are some people going, who the fuck are these people?
Yeah. Of our 7 listeners. Yes!
Those people know who we are.
I don't know if I've got a listener yet that doesn't know who we are. That'd be exciting.
So,
if you're the first one, drop a comment. Yes.
So yeah, no, I like to cut straight through that and just go.
Well, maybe I'll say I feel the same. Maybe I'm not intentional enough to do that. Wait, you wouldn't refuse to answer their question, would you? Oh no, or like
it depends.
Would you misdirect it? Like
I would probably.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, answer it indirectly, or yeah.
That's pretty cool because I'm thinking of like a first date scenario where if you do that, like they ask you what you do for a job and you misdirect it, I would imagine maybe a lot of women would be off put by that.
This guy's obviously homeless.
Yes. Yeah. But here's the thing. It's a good filter. Being yourself is always the best way to go. If the girl's off put, probably not the right girl for you. If she instead sort of connects and understands, like just like how I'm saying to you now, like I feel the exact same about that. Like maybe I haven't been as intentional in deflecting it or
there's no strategy. Just don't ask the question.
Yeah. No, but it's enough. I've had that thought and I agree with that, but maybe I've been worn down by the norm of like, oh, you just tell them, if people ask you, just tell them. But yeah, maybe now I'll be stronger in maintaining that it doesn't really matter.
See how that goes, man.
Yeah.
You know, because the other thing that I've realized is like there are a lot of throwaway, like humans, we're just animals, monkey see, monkey do. So there are a lot of throwaway behaviors.
Yeah.
When somebody walks into the room, you say hello. Well, why is that? No, there's no reason.
Yeah.
How are you? That's not a real question.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I'm like, why do I say that? Like, here's the thing though, because you know, like certain people, like my man, like when they see you, and like, I like that because you're saying a thing, but it's more the feeling. And to me, it's like a feeling of welcome and warmth and like camaraderie. Do you know what I mean?
Sure,
when
yeah.
certain people greet each other, yeah, they're not saying, hey, how are you? They say something, whatever. And there's this nice moment and feeling, kind of like how we hug or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm much more like that as opposed to saying random.
Yeah, so there are lots of maybe
It's
ways.
also a cultural thing, yeah, because
Yes.
Japanese and that would say certain words, but I kind of like that because it shows like respect and you know what I mean.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying is a lot of this is performative. It's not a real question.
Yeah.
It's a formality in order that maybe we can just go, okay, this guy's a normal person and not dangerous. Now we can sit down and it's funny how
Maybe we should just say I'm not dangerous.
I'm not-
Hello, I'm not dangerous.
then they'll go like, so what do you do for a living? Oh, don't worry, I'm not dangerous.
Yes. On your first date, guys, especially if it's a online match,
Yeah.
you say hello, I'm not dangerous. Nice to meet you, because it is nice to meet them. You know, that's not a lie. And then let me know how it goes. Imagine if then the girl says, I listen to Somebody Elongated too.
Oh my God.
Oh, mate.
What a
then
keeper.
Yeah.
Send her our way. No, yeah, no, because at one point I was like, remember how I said like with some people that study philosophy, they go into nihilism because they start questioning everything and then they realize there's no meaning behind any of it, blah, blah, blah. So then at some point I was like pissed off at like, yo, why people ask me how I am all the time? It's not a real question. Don't ask me what I do for a living. It's not a real question. It's like, who cares? Like, get over yourself, man. Answer the question and then move on. So, you know, that's also a fine strategy. So when people ask me how I am, I try and answer it genuinely. And it's funny because sometimes people are taken aback. Like last time, my boss goes, hey, Nick, because we were on a Zoom call. Hey, how are you? I go, mate, I'm phenomenal. I'm excellent. He's like, damn. Really? That's nice, man.
Yeah.
So and you can answer the question of, you know, what you do for a living in a way that is, anyway, you can answer it in a more genuine way that's more personal, or you can just choose to give the throwaway answer, you know, whatever. It's not that important.
Honestly, what I think I might do now is, depending on the context, obviously, but I might just say, I'd rather you not like. That's gonna make the yeah.
I'd rather you not.
I'd rather you not judge me on a preconceived notion of that thing. But the funny thing is, if I say that, they'll think, are you like a stripper or something?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. They'll think the worst.
Yeah. So yeah, you probably have to deflect it in a tactful way.
Yeah, you could make a joke or something. Can't you tell I'm a stripper?
Yeah. Done. Yes.
Yeah. You know, so there are lots of ways to answer that question, but for me, it's just interesting. The interesting thing here is to.
I'm just thinking.
Jesus.
Imagine I'm on a first date. She asks me that. I'm like, can't you tell I'm a stripper? And then she laughs, and then she's like, but seriously. And then I'm like, damn it, Nick didn't tell me what else to say. Can't you tell I'm a stripper?
So I'm just gonna make a quick phone call.
I just keep saying the same thing.
Yeah, you're an NPC.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's, you know, you don't want to, that's my point, is like, you don't want to unnecessarily derail the conversation, you know? So that's the way that I started looking at these things. It's like, oh, this mammal is just trying to see if this environment is safe.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, like it's not about the words. Who cares about the words?
Yeah.
But then, you know, for certain people, I will tell them that I'm excellent. So, Yeah, and I haven't had that question in a long time. What do you do for a living?
Yeah, it's even hard for me to define, like you said, in a way.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a normal job. Because, so... Yeah, then it's complicated. So the funny thing is I kind of make up a standard job that would kind of paint the picture of what I actually do very quickly for you.
Yeah, me too. I think everybody has to do that.
Yeah.
I think lots of people have to do that. So I do that too. Anyway, man, back to fun.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. As we were kind of talking about what we do for fun or what things we find fun, and we've since determined.
That's a dumb question. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, we've since determined it's maybe not so much the things, but deeper than that, maybe the creativity. What I also found interesting is thinking about it. For me, and of course it makes sense, but what is fun changes over time, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I think as a teenager, I would have said, computer games. That's definitely how I had fun. And that's true. If I had free time and I wanted to have fun, I would just often play computer games. But nowadays, I think I would struggle to have fun playing a computer game, which is kind of weird. Yeah. No,
we played FIFA.
Yeah, but I guess the depth of, that was cool, but the depth of fun, you know what I mean? I'd back in the day, the most fun thing would be that'd be really high up there. But now it's probably man, if you want to go rock climbing, I'd probably find that more fun than maybe playing games. I don't know. Yeah.
What I was thinking about before is that when you're a kid and people say, what do you do for fun? I think the answer is it's the reason that there's a sharper answer is because most of your day is not fun because you go to school. So there's a lot of hours in there where it's you're supposed to do this thing that's kind of imposed on you. You're not, there's much less autonomy. So then the question about what do you do for fun when you're a kid is okay, what do I do autonomously that is enjoyable for me? And I think, that kind of, so if most of your day is just, spent doing your job that you don't really, it's just a job for you, then you might have a clearer answer about what you do for fun.
Yeah.
Because clearly most of your time is not spent doing something that's autonomous.
Yeah. What do you do in that time when you can do what you want?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then for us, it's everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a good way to think about it. Nice.
So if they have a good answer, you go, well, this is not the right person.
Nice.
You should have struggled with that question.
Yeah.
Red flag.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. On that point of the changing over time, how about for you, man? How do you think what you've found fun has changed over time?
Well, it's funny because I've started to try and go back into playing video games, which has been quite a thing for me because even when I was a kid, I didn't really find playing video games that fun.
Wow. Okay. So you just didn't do it very much?
I did it a fair amount, but it's not, I much more wanted to play sports and just talk to my friends.
Wow. That's cool. It's so different.
I didn't, that wasn't a choice. It just is naturally what happened.
Funny because I probably was more the other way around. Okay. I played sports and that, and I enjoyed that, but I remember holiday days where I would just lie in my bed and playing Pokemon all day.
Yeah, cool.
And I loved it.
Yeah, cool.
But that's insane to think now. How did you do that, mate?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is cool. I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Pokemon's great.
Yeah, it is. Love it. Nick's wearing a Pokemon shirt. It was also cool because Nick didn't know that fun was topic today, and you come in here wearing a Pokemon shirt. It's great.
Yeah, so it's I'll tell you, I don't know if we've talked about this, but the reason that I started playing more video games is because I found that I judged people who played video games negatively.
Nice.
Like how childish. And
that's a cool thing though. I love childishness.
Yeah, but not in a good way.
Okay.
Like how immature maybe.
Right, okay. Or like what a waste of time sort of thing.
Yeah, I couldn't. And then what I digged into was like I couldn't really understand how somebody could like, because actually it wasn't quite video games. It was watching other people play video games. Like, because a couple of my friends watch streamers, and that was so far outside of my conceptual scheme of like, why? First of all, why would you want to play a video game, and why would you want to watch somebody play a video game?
I can understand. Yeah,
yeah, I couldn't get it. And I'm sure there are lots of people that don't get it.
No, I can understand.
No, I understand that you get it, but I didn't get it.
Would you enjoy watching someone wash the dishes?
No. I want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't typically like watching any, like I've performed at way more live performances than I've attended. I like being part of things typically.
Maybe we're natural performers, because I feel the same. Where I'm at events sometimes and I'm like, this is cool, but I would love to be doing it. Yeah.
But I think that it builds compassion if you can find out a way to see the world the way somebody else sees it. So I was like, I challenged myself to be like, can I see the value in watching somebody play video games?
Okay. I'm just laughing at the prospect of a game developer learning that Nick played your game because he wanted to challenge himself to try to enjoy
It's pretty weird.
Yeah.
So then I just started watching some streamers.
But you first started playing games? Was that your...
No, I started watching streamers first, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, the playing games came later, I think.
Okay. So you just forced yourself to watch something you didn't think you'd enjoy, or you just didn't enjoy? Well,
I tried to... No, force is bad, because I just curiously wanted to see what it was all about. And the first person that I watched is a streamer called Pokimane. I think I probably just typed streamers into YouTube or something and then watched her. And the thing that I was incredibly impressed by was, it wasn't playing games or anything, but like so the chat comes up and says all these things, and oftentimes they're like mean comments. And the way that she handled the comments, I was just so impressed. I was like, wow, that doesn't seem to affect her at all.
As in, she'd like joke about it, or? She
would either joke about it, but like, almost like, because oftentimes I think the people in the chat are oftentimes a lot younger, like in her audience maybe. And so she would almost like a mother be like, now come on. And I just found that she had such an emotional maturity. I went on later to find out that these things do affect her. Well, like any other human, but just, I don't know, I was very impressed I was like, wow, that's really impressive. And then, I don't know, just like, it was just really fascinating to go into this other world that I knew nothing about, where people would kind of talk about the game. And, you know, in my head, I thought the biggest streamers would be the people that were most skilled at the game. And that's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
They're the people that are the most entertaining to watch and the most engaged with their community. So that's already fascinating.
I really love the way you think about things, man. So cool. The purity of your interest in it like that is really cool.
It was beautiful for me to find that there was a world that I knew nothing about.
Yeah.
That was so close. It was just a pebble throw away. It was so close.
There's probably a lot of them as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So then, I started watching streamers and kind of almost like watching a zoo of like, that's curious. What's this animal doing? And getting into that world a little bit.
I'm sure they'll appreciate you making that.
And then I started watching some streamers that, like, what I realized about certain streamers is like they call themselves degens, but they just like, they're so sloppy with their lives. Like they don't take showers, you know, they don't have any social skills. I don't know. There's something interesting about watching these people that like have found a way to be incredibly successful. And lots of these people are multimillionaires, that would never survive in the real world, quote unquote, real world. So yeah, I started to kind of watch them with fascination. And then, I don't know how I came onto playing video games, but I just became interested in the Switch. I find that Nintendo is so cool in the sense that like it's so far apart from the other. It's like when you're working with an Apple, it's clear, and when you're working with Windows, it's clear. Like Apple is its own league, and I feel that Nintendo is its own league. PlayStation and Xbox typically have the same games, and it's like there's not much of a difference between Xbox and PlayStation. But going to Nintendo, there's a huge difference, and I found that really. And so I think the first game I played was Super Smash Brothers. I think it's like one of the most successful games, at least on the Switch. So I wanted to see what it was kind of about, because. Yeah, and I don't know. I find the whole Nintendo franchise just really, really fascinating. They clearly put so much effort into their games, and they try and make them amazing. I get the feeling that they want to sell you something that you're really happy with, rather than selling you something where here's the game for this year and you have to buy another game the next year. No, Mario Kart 8 you can play for 10 years. And they're still releasing these expansion packs and stuff. It's really impressive. So, I very much got into the whole gaming world from a kind of a weird perspective. And my thing that I was challenging myself is like, can I get to a place now where I can understand a community of people that I previously judged in a negative way? And now I'm there. And I have much more empathy and compassion and understanding for those people. I think that's just a kind of a good way to be.
And the funny thing about you telling me about this before was you wanted to just play the games and have fun, right? That was the goal.
No, the goal was to understand what could be fun about a game.
Okay. The reason I said that was because I remember you saying you then eventually started getting competitive about trying to get really good, and then you realized this is stupid.
Yeah,
do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, I started to. So in Super Smash Brothers, you can get to an elite status. That it's like nobody really knows what it means to be elite. So what happens is that you get to a certain level, and then you get into elite status, and so there's like speculation about, is it top 10%? Is it top 1%? Blah blah blah. Probably likely to be top 10% of players, but so I was like very close to getting into elite status, and I was like grinding away, and then I was like, I just realized at a certain point, what the fuck? Like, why?
Yeah.
Maybe that's testament to the game. I mean, I suppose that that elite status is there to bait engagement, and they had done a really good job, even with somebody that's like doesn't identify as a video game player. So that's when I bought Mario Kart. Because I was like, I'm just going to play this other game I don't care about.
Yeah, that's funny, man. So did you have to fight that natural urge to like be better at it? Or you just, it was more like, oh, I can see this is unnecessary. Let me just change it totally.
It took me a little bit of time. Because I fell into that habit instinctively of being competitive. So that when I noticed that's when I immediately just stopped playing the game and played something else.
Okay.
And now when I go back to it, I don't care.
And that wasn't hard for you, or like?
I wouldn't say it was hard, but it took time.
Time to be like not eager to.
Yeah, no, because that's why. Because if I made that realization and went straight back into the game, I think that I would still play competitively. That's why I played something else for a while.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But now I can play, and I don't care.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like flip for me because I played Smash Brothers as a teenager on the Nintendo 64, and I loved it. I was pretty into it, and now I don't know. It doesn't really do much for me. If we were to play Smash Brothers, I'm open to it, but that's mostly because I'm open to it. It's not.
Yep.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't think I'd really enjoy it.
No.
I'd enjoy hanging out with you, but
yeah.
It just doesn't really do much for me.
But StarCraft does, right?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I have a group of friends. We play StarCraft, and we try to StarCraft 2, I should say. We try to often do like in person, and that's the element I like, where we're hanging out with each other, but we're playing the game. I don't know. Yeah, it's funny. I've caused a bit of conflict in that group because I'm like, guys, I'm open to this, but I'd rather actually just like hang out with you guys and like do something else.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Because I remember we played like this Star Wars game where you had to like defeat. Remember we played.
Battlefront.
Battlefront. Yeah. And it was funny because you got really into it, and you were like, "Mate, you got to get on the right flank." And I always just remember being like, oh, this is hilarious. Like you're so into it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
Now,
yeah,
you know what's funny? Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
You just gave me the impression that you were super into it. But
I didn't love it.
Okay.
Yeah, I find other things more fun. But I mean, if we're gonna attack these Imperials, we're gonna do it properly, mate. Yes. Yeah, you know what's funny, man? Coinciding with that, that was just before you're going into the cave.
Oh, okay.
And so, in that time apart, I was like, oh, did Nick really hate that that gaming session? And no, it's funny. I had that thought very briefly. I'm like, no, that's ridiculous. But I did think it for a second. Yeah.
No, yeah, so it's like, it's interesting that you say that you don't enjoy these things. And so, because that was the challenge for me. I didn't enjoy games even as a child. Can I find a way to enjoy games as an adult? And cool. It's simply to expand. I find that a lot of this, so often we judge other people for simply having different taste to us. And I find that so limiting.
I like to think I don't. I appreciate different tastes, even if if it's not to my taste, you know. Yeah.
I think I see that about you. But yeah, I was like, I mean, there was this thing that my friends had done that I was like judging them negatively, and then I was like, let me try and fix that. So then, that's also just like that experience has taught me something really cool about like not judging other people's tastes. More than just video games. It was very impactful just from a totally like different human perspective side. So it was really important that I did that.
I think I'd find that really hard to do, to play games and make myself.
It doesn't have to be games. Like it was like for me. It was like why is this thing that other people like that I don't.
Yeah.
Not only do I not like, I think that it's a waste of time.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be interesting. I don't know though. I find that hard to. Most things I can see how people would enjoy it.
Oh, great.
Even if it's not something I do, Almost for everything, actually, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it just gave me a lot more empathy for how people have different tastes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm good with the sympathy.
Yes.
Okay. How can one become a more fun person?
I don't know. It's because it's funny how like you want to be a fun person, because I don't really think it's possible to do that. It just in the sense of like you can't be fun for everybody. You can be fun for certain people.
And I also think though, like you could be a fun person and you could not be a fun person. It's not like that's who you are.
That's another good point.
But it's probably what are you focused on?
Yeah.
If you're focused on trying to be fun, it may not be fun. But if instead you're focused on maybe like being creative, or like we say, it probably happens when you're not trying to make
That's
it happen.
what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I actually think it's just don't be a douchebag. How not to be a douchebag. Yeah, be open and empathetic, sensitive, those things, receptive.
Genuine.
And the other thing that I've kind of noticed is that, again...
Well, they can probably be fun and not be genuine, interestingly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was just actually going to talk about, is like how you don't want to artificially make the situation fun.
Well, you don't want to?
Sometimes the situation does not call for fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes when something difficult happens, we play it off and go, haha, yeah, that sucks, man. Actually, that person needed sympathy. And we played it off by ignoring it. How many times do you have a difficult situation with somebody and then you play it off? Yeah, like, oh, okay, yeah, all good, man. You kind of play it off. Or you're feeling sad, but you don't want to feel sad in the moment, so you play it off and you just pretend to be happy. I don't think situations need to be fun all the time. I mean, I appreciate that you're a fun person. Definitely appreciate that. But
oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, no, I really like it. But yeah, I try to, as well. But
You absolutely are, my man.
I find
Very fun, dude.
the gears thing, man. I want there to be lots of gears available, so that in the situation, if the person requires me to be empathetic and open and to listen deeply, I'm so there for that. And if they require me to help them think through a problem, I'm there for that. And if we're just going to let go and have fun, I'm there for that. For me, it's about having lots of gears available. And there can be a toxic positivity where you're like, why aren't I having fun? Why aren't I happy? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, because you're a person and you have there are different facets of a person. And it's not unhealthy to be sad sometimes. Because all of these things, and to be depressed and to be fearful, they're just signals. Don't judge them as being bad. Toxic positivity can be toxic. So you want to have all these gears open to you. And as I mentioned, once you have an open space, the fun and the warmth and the compassion, all the good things happen as a result, as a natural you don't have to focus on them. So I used to want to be a fun person, and then I realized actually that's very limiting. And I'd rather just be thoughtful. So
limiting in the sense that
the situation doesn't always call for fun.
Yeah.
So I would rather not be a fun person.
Yeah.
It also goes back to
not be a fun person, but not focused on being a fun person, right?
Yeah, sure, but it also goes back to what we were talking about before about how I'm trying to let go about parts of my identity. I don't want to identify as a fun person because that's limiting. You just want to identify as I don't want an
person.
identity to be exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe not even a person. Just a being, man.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Not as Nick either.
Yep, not attached to that name.
Sorry about calling you Nick before.
Yes! Yeah, really pissed me off. No. So, yeah, I think that I'm trying to let go of those. It's funny because, imagine this got asked, this was the date question of, how do you be more fun? And I'd be like, well, I'm trying to let go of the...
Yes!
It's very limiting.
What do you do for fun?
It's very
I'm
limiting.
not answering any of these questions.
My attention
to
is
top
zero
it all
sum.
off would be best if you actually were a stripper.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, I'm a stripper. Yes. Actually, yeah.
At one point, when I was a pharmacology researcher, when people asked me what I would do, I would say, "Oh, I'm a drug designer."
Yeah.
And then that was good because it typically shut that conversation right down. And we just talk about something else, which is great.
Nice.
Well, before we move on to the next question, how do you feel about answering that question for yourself?
How to be more fun. What was the question exactly?
Yeah. You said how do you be a fun person? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think it's resonates with what you said. So to say in my own words would be I think just having had a discussion, someone that's creative, I think, and genuine, and not focused on being fun, ironically, but instead maybe even just focused on being in the moment.
Yeah.
Being here.
Yep. Presence, as you said, is incredibly charismatic.
All right. Can one have too much fun?
Well, it goes back to what I was saying before about does the situation call for it? Yeah. If it's a situation where you can have fun, have as much fun as you want. But it's part of just growing up and being an adult that there are multiple gears, multiple facets of being a person, and there are different seasons. When you're working hard and it feels tough, there's a fun in that. So I would just say that it's like it's not, it shouldn't be your focus, I don't think.
I think this is why I don't enjoy computer games anymore, because I've learnt that it's more fun for me to take on a hard problem and overcome it. Yeah. It's ultimately more fun, and therefore playing a computer game, I'm not going to get that. Maybe I will if it's a really good game, I don't know. But probably not going to get that. So knowing that makes it harder to enjoy when I could instead be making a film or something like that. You know what I mean? I think that might be why.
Yeah, so it reminds me of Immanuel Kant talked about how, like, if you just follow what your feelings and honor your like, if you're a hedonist, if you just do what you feel, you're actually not free. You're a slave to your desires. And so actually, in order to be free, you have to live a life that's where your actions align with your values.
So disciplined life.
Discipline, yeah. So it's interesting that discipline equals freedom.
Yeah, I had that epiphany and I love it. It's
true.
Yeah, it makes so much sense, but on the outside, it might look counterintuitive.
Yeah. So it's like, to answer this question, it's like, can you have too much fun? Well, it's just like, are you being a hedonist? Are you living like a hedonistic life rather than a values-driven life? Yeah. And are you honoring the circumstances?
I see this question in two parts, though. One of it can be like, in the moment, can you have too much fun?
I don't think so.
Good. I also...
That was such a good...
Yeah. I also... I also... my housemate just made a noise at the exact right time. No, I agree, man. I think in the moment you cannot ever have too much fun, and perhaps go for it. Like that's almost like an intensity in its own way, right? You may as well go hard on it, and I think I would always strive to maximize that. But but if we're talking broadly, like quotation fun, if you're spending all your time, losing focus in that, then maybe it can be a not admirable trait.
I think that fun is something that is said about, like, it's said about the moment. So it's not, I don't feel that it's necessary to focus on it at all, because if you're in the moment, you're not judging the moment, and therefore all these questions of happiness, striving, hard work, all of those go away. I think we talked about flow in the last episode, and it's like, in flow, you kind of encapsulate it by saying, look, you're just immersed in the moment. When you're immersed in the moment, you might be having fun, but you're not, the evaluation of whether or not you're having fun is not there. So
it's always a post.
Exactly.
Retrospective.
It's always retrospective.
Yeah. So
then why are you retrospectively evaluating the previous moment rather than being in the current moment? Now, there are good reasons to do that. For instance, in the episode where I started talking about what I'm going to do next, it was important for me to go back to my childhood and to figure out what are the things that I most enjoyed, and how does that line up with the things that I most enjoy now. So then you can keep following your bliss. Yeah.
Also, though, like, when you're doing certain activities, it's fun in the moment, right?
Exactly. So, it when you see it. That's right. You don't need to define it. You just know it.
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess in those moments you don't stop and think, I'm having fun. You just keep having.
Well, sometimes I do that.
You might take a moment of reflection.
Fun.
Yeah. This is really fun. Damn it, I'm thinking about it. It's not fun anymore.
I fucked it up.
Nice. What's the most fun thing you can imagine doing right now?
I really love having one-on-one conversations. That's one of the things that I realized when I did that period of trying to be more of an introvert. I realized that especially the only thing that could make it better is if we were walking. I love walking in nature and having a chat. That's nice. My number one favorite activity.
We can try a lav mic podcast at some point.
We could.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that should work. I don't see why not. Really. Yeah. Might be a bit more background noise, but that's fine.
I mean, I'm happy to do the podcast here, and we can, because we can have our normal.
We'll try it one day, man, for sure. Like,
sure.
I always like to try things, and then we'll see after.
Sure.
Yeah.
There you go, openness.
Yeah.
That's fun. That's a fun quality.
Thanks, man.
What about you?
For me, I honestly find this really fun, of course. I'm trying to think the most fun thing I can do right now. In my mind, the thing that comes to me quickly is when the film is complete and like at the premiere or something like that. Like when all that work is done and we finally get to share it with people, I feel like that'll be exceptionally fun. And maybe it's, as we're speaking, like often the more fun is when more work has been done, the barrier has been harder perhaps than other things. And this is just a guess, because I obviously have no idea how it's going to feel when maybe I'll be sad that it's over, and maybe it won't be what I expected. I don't know. But I think it'll be, I guess based on my previous experience of building up, working on something, and then finally releasing it, that's an amazing feeling. I love it.
Maybe like to give some pushback on it, it's like maybe that would be more rewarding. So I'm not saying that you're wrong about this, but something to think about is how the way that the human dopamine system works is that it works in response to anticipation. So that what we feel, we get that response from the dopamine from is not the reward itself, but the thinking about, I'm going to have a piece of chocolate cake, or I'm going to have sex with that girl, or I'm going to achieve this thing. It's in the thinking and the anticipation that we get the pleasure that the pleasurable feelings arise. And in fact,
I don't know about that, man. Yes.
Okay.
As in, like, if I'm thinking about those things, it's always better when I'm doing it.
It's always better when you're doing it. Okay.
Yeah.
You're good, man.
Yeah. But interesting. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off there.
No. So it's fine, because I don't know. Like, this actually might not be true of you, but like oftentimes people have more fun planning the Christmas dinner than having the Christmas dinner. They have more fun thinking about their wedding than the actual wedding, which can be a nightmare. They have more fun planning New Year's Eve, and then New Year's Eve is always a disappointment. You, on the other hand, seem to enjoy all of those things.
Yeah, I'd say I do. Yeah,
I do too.
I can see how the planning in that can be fun, but I love the thing.
I can see that in you. Yeah.
Well, we'll find out at the premiere, but
I'm sure you'll have fun.
Yeah, I think so, man. Like, yeah, part of it's also like I've got this vision that I believe in, and it'll be really nice to finally share that with people, because until the point that the film is completely done, it's still, people can't quite understand it, or see it in its hopefully pure state. So yeah, that's
cool, man. I like that we have different answers. They're philosophically different.
in what we
my answer was what's already here is amazing. And your answer was, I'm working towards something amazing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying this isn't amazing, but me trying to put the context of most fun. Yeah. That's just what I think now as well.
But what I'm saying is, for me, it's a trap to think that the most fun thing is not already here.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. And that doesn't make you, that doesn't make you not ambitious.
No, because what I've started to focus on is the process. So I'm not interested in the destination.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in the steps that get me there. And then whatever comes about as a result is, I'm fine with either way. I would say that I'm maybe less ambitious than you.
But I think I share that though, like, because I agree with everything you're saying, and I enjoy all the steps along the way, and I think you have to. But I'm also very excited for the destination.
That's cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I just feel less of that. I think I probably, once that, like when I have that period after getting into Cambridge and being like, actually the destination doesn't mean shit, that I stopped worrying about destinations.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you, man, but I was having a conversation with my auntie, who's a missionary in a Muslim country. So her life is in danger. And she said, you know, I'm not that afraid to die. And I go, yeah, me neither. We have that in common. So I have this, it's interesting because I can't remember who it was that said that oftentimes when Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, I think is her name, she's the person that came up with the 5 or 6 stages of grief with like bargaining and acceptance and anger, all those things. And she said that one of the reasons that people are afraid to die is because there's this kind of this unfulfilled potential, I was supposed to do more with my life, and I don't feel that at all. I feel very ready, peaceful, at peace with being dead, because I don't feel that there's nothing that I'm not already doing. I don't feel a need for anything more. So yeah, whatever
and
comes next.
If there was, you'd be doing it, sort of thing.
Yeah. But there isn't.
Yeah, because you're doing it.
If there was, I'd be like, well, what is that thing that you think you need? And I would look into it and probably let go of it.
Nice. Are the people that you deeply respect fun people?
Yeah, I think so. I think, as I said in maybe episode 1, the people that I respect the most can be maximally silly and maximally serious. That you have all of those gears. And I was thinking about how you opened with a topic that is like fun, and then I went into serious like quite quickly. Because
which is great. I
find serious fun.
Yes.
So, sorry, what was the question again?
The people that you really respect. Are they fun people?
Yes, so they are, and they're incredibly serious as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also like I'd say it's that's a taste thing, you know.
Oh yeah.
I might see that person and think they're really fun. Someone else might see them and think they're not fun at all.
It's all taste.
But I wonder if it's someone you really respect, are you likely to think that they're a fun person? Probably, yeah. Actually, almost certainly, I would say, right?
I feel like because what comes to mind is like if the person isn't fun, maybe they're taking themselves too seriously, and I find that not to be admirable.
Yeah.
As a taste thing, I don't like it.
That'd be, if there's a way to leave comments on these videos, I'd be curious to hear from our listeners. Are the people that you admire most, do you also think they're fun people? Because I think Nick and I are the same, where we'd say yes they are, but I wonder if maybe different people think differently. That'd be interesting. We kind of covered this. Is it ever inappropriate to be fun?
Yes. You know the answer to that.
Yeah. Wait, can you elaborate, please?
Well, as I said earlier, sometimes those situations are not called for fun. I mean, if your friend's mother has just died,
yeah,
the situation doesn't call. You can be maybe.
It'd be inappropriate to try and make them have a fun time in that moment.
Yeah. Maybe here's a thought that just arose, and we'll see if I agree with it.
Nice.
Which is.
It's a beautiful way to think, man.
Is it ever? No, I've lost the train of thought. No, but I'll get it back. Is it ever appropriate to not go with what you're already feeling? I think that I'm more leaning towards this idea that you're supposed to just feel whatever emotions are coming up, and if they're not fun, then don't disrespect the feeling. You got to honor those feelings by letting them.
By artificially trying to make it fun.
I feel that happens often. Of like, just get over it, man. Let's go out and have some fun. Yeah. It's like, no. I think that it's healthy to let your emotions play out. And I have experienced that when you do that, what's on the other side of it is peace, and on the other side of peace is joy. I mean, that's what I've experienced for myself. So, yeah, I think it's inappropriate to... not just fun. I think it's inappropriate to bulldoze over any emotion with any other emotion.
Nice. That's well put. My concern, I mean, not concern, but my thought would be though, like, are some people not equipped to handle certain emotions? Because that seems to be when, like suicide, for example, something, there seems to be a problem with that. That's objectively a bad thing. And if that's someone experiencing some kind of pain, but yeah, it's tricky because I would also say that it's important you experience everything and accept it all. So again, I'm probably getting into a too complex a subject.
I really like it. I mean, I just wish I was more educated on this, because I obviously don't know what to do with somebody who is suicidal. But I would hasten to say that you don't just go get over it. Let's have some fun.
No, of course, yeah.
So yeah, but I don't know what to.
But I imagine that on the flip side, this is a guess because I'm a bit ignorant, but I don't think a professional would maybe say, like, delve into that, go deep into that. It seems like that might overwhelm some people.
It might.
Yeah.
But maybe they also just think that it'll overwhelm them, and when they go there, especially with a trained,
and it's the anticipation of that
exactly
that could lead them to suicide instead of
maybe.
Yeah. Again, I have no idea.
Me neither. But yeah, just
interesting thought.
Let me just speak personally rather than to speculate about those kinds of. But yeah, I have found that there is an incredible. Personally, what I found is that actually you can go through all emotions, and I've tried to open up a space within myself where all emotions are welcome. That's the space that we went into on the Here episode. I now feel that no one emotion has privilege. No one emotion is better than the other emotions. I actually don't necessarily think that joy is better than sadness, or that fear is better than, So
love it, man.
These are signals that need to be listened to. And if it's your own child, it's like so clear that when the child is crying, that needs to be tended to. Now, we have our own inner children. That's my feeling about that. And those need to be tended to. And just look at a child. Once they're tended to, they have fun. Their default state is fun. Once they're fed and they're not sleepy and blah blah blah, like they are explorers. They're super curious. They're often incredibly loving. Dude, on the way here, as I was coming over I think it's the Spit Bridge, there was a boat coming under us with a family on it, and there was a girl waving, and I thought, let me wave back to her, and she looked and was so happy, and I thought, I'm really glad that, because I don't think anybody else on the bus waved, and I was like, I'm glad that she thinks people are good or something like that.
Yeah.
So look at her, the little girl was just so innocent and had all of her needs taken care of. And what did she do spontaneously? She tried to connect to a stranger. So I think that we have that within. That's once we get rid of the fear of, have I got my bills paid, and do people respect me, and blah blah blah, all the things that go with being an adult. That I'm not downplaying those. Those are things that are real. But what I'm saying is, if you can find a way of satisfying all of those, that the childlike part of you is very much alive, and has all of these tendencies to already be happy. This is what I'm kind of I'm reiterating over and over again, is like, once you've solved everything that you think you need as an adult, the childlike wonder comes back by default. You don't have to choose it. It's just there. So maybe that's why for me, my happiness has been a process of reduction rather than addition.
And I have noticed your childlike nature, which is
it's
cool. It's something I sometimes feel like I want to protect it because it seems rare, but now it seems that's all good. Like it'll always be there.
It can't be destroyed.
Yeah, because I'll take care of.
It's because it's funny that you think I'm like, if you just listen to the way that I speak, I'm also quite serious.
Yeah.
So it's like I have the reason that the childlike part can come out is because I'm an adult as well, and I take responsibility for my life, deeply. Of like, I don't just follow rules blindly. I take responsibility for my life.
So you mentioned you don't see any emotions as better or more important than others. Do you find sadness painful?
Yeah, but that's also fine. I mean, I'll say that I feel sad less often. I have have noticed that once okay, so the most recent negative emotion was stress around being late. But what I noticed is that the physiological feeling of it was much less. There's a feeling associated with stress of like high heart rate, contractiveness in the body, maybe your breathing is a little bit labored. None of those signals showed up. It's like my body knew that I was going to take care of this because I was going to pay attention to the emotional signal. So it's really interesting, man, that I the more and more I do this, the less and less I feel the physiological signs are associated with sadness, fear, anxiety, stress, all of those things. Shows
or
up.
Even excitement. Is it reversed too?
It's funny though, because I feel like no, it's
good.
not reversed.
Good. Okay.
It's not reversed. No.
Interesting.
Maybe it's my stoic training that you want to get a handle on negative emotions. I think that what I do aim for is to be a little bit more just level. I'm not that interested in having big swings in either direction. Everything's already wonderful. I don't need to be 10 out of 10 although I don't know. I was going to say there's no need to be 10 out of 10 happy, but I do feel 10 out of 10 happy. So
nice.
It's like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, my way of thinking of this is I find the beauty in sadness. Like, ways I think about it is like, I'm glad I'm sad in that it means I care about whatever that thing was. And that's a beautiful thing. And I would not want to have that because that would be sad in itself,
It'd be apathetic.
Yeah. That's again why I think apathy is death in a sense. As in if I went through life and not being able to have that, have love, that'd be so terrible. And because it's like a natural thing you don't control, but I love that. Like it's great. Even if it's inconvenient or whatever. Yeah, there's something really great about that. As opposed to if I just didn't care, that'd be that'd be much sadder than being sad about someone for some reason. You know what I mean? The other thing though is, I think we should obviously not. I don't know if we spoke about this in the podcast yet, but I realized before in trying to experience everything, I wouldn't worry about pain, and I'd be pretty almost reckless and walk into incredibly painful emotional experiences, which I don't know if I regret it or not, but at least now when I think of it more well, mate, you wouldn't intentionally physically injure yourself because that'd be stupid. I now think similar in that, mentally I should protect, not hold back and be you know what I mean? Maybe even you can make it a physical analogy as well, but to have a chance at a certain connection, and that you need to risk certain things, and hence so the pain is something you have to accept the risk for. But then also maybe, protecting yourself a little bit. It's a bit of a balance. I still err on the side of vulnerability and trust.
I mean, I would say that it's not. I don't see it as a balance. I see it as I'm a responsible adult. I'm going to take care of myself, and so I don't see it as like, do I want to be more reckless or more, do I want to go more into pain or more vulnerable? I just think about it as, I'm going to go into this situation. I'm an adult. I'm going to take care of myself. Because I think that when you, I don't know, it's almost like the other parts of me are settled by the fact that I'm responsible. So yeah, you can go into the situation trusting yourself more. Like, actually, it just occurred to me that a good example of this is what I'm doing now with my career, where I'm just like, look, it's risky that I'm just going to leave aside academia and I don't have something waiting for me on the other end. But then there's the part of like all my other parts trust me just because of my history of like, okay, he's an adult. He's going to take care of us. So I think, yeah, it's like you can earn trust with yourself by, it's almost like self-confidence, by showing yourself evidence of success.
Yeah. Your own track record.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember who said it, but it's like, when you get away with something that you know was wrong, you're the person that ends up the worst out of that because you see it. So then you begin to distrust yourself. And so you have less self-confidence and less, self-esteem. So don't, if you try and fool somebody or if you try and trick somebody, the person that ends up the worst out of that is you.
Nice.
Because you're always watching.
Yeah, I like that as well. It damages your self-esteem. It's a great point. I'd say that's probably the most detrimental of anything, really.
Yeah, it's really... Marcus says this. It's like somebody fooled you. Too bad for them.
That's boss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true, man. Yeah, it's interesting as well. I've noticed if I don't feel good about myself for some reason, I never do as good a job in that moment, which is, it's all linked, right?
Yep.
You should respect yourself ultimately it's going to be much better in so many ways. Yeah. How does one become the opposite of fun? It's not something that anyone probably tries to do, but I thought it was just an interesting thing to think about.
Well, I mean, the thing that comes to mind is just like not being the moment by judging it.
True. Or even just being judgmental in general.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about what does it mean to be judgmental? It means that you want the world to be different than it is. You want the person to be different. You want the circumstances to be different than they are.
Or they should be a certain way.
Yeah. They should be, but it's like, how about you just see what's already here?
Yeah.
So, yeah, judgment is typically not fun.
It's funny, but the way we use that word, I'm conscious of, because you can judge something, like make it ascertain something from something, and that's it. But I guess the meaning we're having here is you think how it should be. Yeah.
What I think maybe it was Byron Katie, but something that I realized is that like, if you want the world to be different than it is, and you get angry about that, it's because you're wrong. You were wrong. The world is different than what you want. So the picture that you have of what you want is incorrect.
Yeah.
And if you just let go of that, it can be very freeing.
Yeah, that reminds me of another quote, and I'm really not going to say it correctly, but it was something about like the most optimistic people are also the most frustrated.
Yep.
Because
they see that the world could be better than it is. Yeah.
But I agree with it, but I also think good. Like, but here's the thing: I don't judge something if it's not as good as it could be. I see it as an opportunity.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't judge the thing and think it's bad. Maybe I think, there's an opportunity here. We can make it better.
And this is going to sound a bit woo-wooish, but like, because you might think that what I'm saying now is contradictory with the sense that I'm trying to build things in the world. Like I'm trying to build these new technologies, right? It's like, well, why don't you just leave the world as it is? And I feel that the universe is acting through me when these technologies arise. That I'm merely a conduit to the way that the world is supposed to be. And that's another sense when I feel aligned is I go, okay, is the universe acting correctly through me? Like when I'm lecturing and it's happening, I haven't prepared the lecture and it's just coming through me. I go, well, the universe is acting through me right now. I'm merely a conduit. I'm a servant to what is supposed to be there. So,
yeah, I get that. Here's the thing. I think where one may go wrong on that is like, well, I don't have to prepare anything and I don't have to do anything. I just relax and it will happen. No,
right.
I think it's important that in this sense, it's like given all of Nick's abilities and skills and knowledge in this field, he is well suited to express that as a lecturer.
Well, the way that, like, because it comes back to what you said about how actually when you're an actor, you prepare the heck out of the role and then you show up, and because you're not going to perform as well as an actor. So it actually reminds me, this might be an apocryphal story, but I think it was Picasso sitting down one day. Somebody comes up to him and says, "Can you sketch something for me in a napkin?" So he sketches something and then says, "Well, that will be 20,000 euros." And the person says, "Oh, it took you 30 seconds." And he goes, "No, madam, it took me 30 years and 30 seconds. So, and I felt that with my teaching mentor, the first time I saw her lecture, it seemed effortless. And whenever somebody asked her a question, the way that I felt about the way that she answered it was that she merely revealed the tip of the iceberg, that she had an incredibly deep amount of knowledge, and she answered the question efficiently, giving only what was necessary of her knowledge to answer it. And oftentimes what you find is with people that are kind of novice teachers, when they answer a question, they give some long fucking answer. And so actually it takes experience to be concise. And so, yeah, I mean, I already did I wrote the lecture notes and blah, blah, blah. I did all the prep. And then I realized when I came in on the day, I wasn't going to rehearse what I was going to say. I just trusted in the way that we trust in this podcast that things will just come up.
Yeah.
That you don't need to rehearse, but it doesn't mean that you don't have anything. It just means that all the preparation was done in the 30 years prior.
Yeah. I'm learning to trust the podcast more and more, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Even today, I was like, "Oh, I'm leading this one for the first time," and
hey, you're doing a great job. This feels like one of the best.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah.
It's funny because it was that same thing of like that slight hesitation before the fun thing happens. I had that feeling of like, oh, am I prepared enough? And at least because we've done a few now, I just like, no, let's just see what happens. It's all good, I think I've prepared enough, and
you've done an amazing job.
Oh, that's very, very kind of you, man. Thank you.
I had that feeling as well when I was coming up the elevator, and somebody was in the elevator with me, and then when the person left, I just closed my eyes for the remaining floors and just went to the hero place, of everything's already wonderful, and just said, look, I'm going to trust myself that things will come out.
Awesome. That's very cool, man. Love it.
By the way, we're at 2.5 hours.
It doesn't matter. Yes. Yeah, nice. I'm just checking. I had a few points, and it looks like we've covered them all.
That's great.
Yeah. Did you have any other points on fun you wanted to?
No, it's interesting because I think within the course of this conversation, I formed my opinions about fun.
Yes, that's beautiful. I would agree with that as well. I've better distilled, I think, my understanding of it.
Yeah, that's right. I feel like I could probably refine it more, but I just trusted that I was going to say what felt authentic in the moment, and now I think I understand more about my own feelings about fun than I did 2.5 hours ago. So
that's epic.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, man. That's amazing. That's so valuable. Well then, I thought what I'd leave everyone with today was, and this is interesting because it may have evolved now during our conversation, but I still think it's relevant. why don't we all spend the next 2 days trying to have as much fun as we possibly can? Yes!